Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The night sky over the ruined city was fractured by the crimson sweep of Imperial scanners. Lieutenant Aaron Salvon crouched among the collapsed husks of old office towers, her breath ragged in the stale air. Below, thousands of citizens moved in formation through the quarantine zones, their every step monitored by the sentinels in orbit. Above them, the Thoraxian Empire's artificial stars glowed with unblinking watchfulness. Erin adjusted the worn receiver strapped to her wrist. It had belonged to her grandfather, one of the engineers who first built the great satellites before the Empire arrived. She had kept it hidden for years, convinced that its ancient circuits held nothing but static. Tonight, though, it crackled with life. A faint pulse, almost overshadowed by the scanner's hum, beat in a rhythm too precise to be natural. "Signal's real," she whispered into her comm. "I'm getting a bearing on something out beyond Pluto." In the cramped tunnel behind her, Sergeant Curran listened with narrowed eyes. Curran had grown up in the same orphanage as Aaron, scavenging through wreckage for scraps of food and hope. He tapped the wall thoughtfully. "If that's human out there, we've been right about one thing: we aren't alone." Aaron nodded, though her heart pounded with fear. The Empire's punishments for unauthorized transmissions were brutal. Collapse of entire districts, mass deportations to labor colonies. Yet the signal hinted at more than mere survival. It promised connection, perhaps even a way to strike back. She rose, wiping grime from her uniform. "We're moving to Forge Station," she said. "We take Valiant out of the hangar, follow the signal. If it's a trap, we deal with it." Curran hesitated. "That's suicide. The station's crawling with patrols." "The alternative," Aaron replied, "is waiting for the Empire to crush what little freedom we have left." Her voice was steady, but inside she felt the weight of every life in the city. If humans beyond the stars really existed, they might bring knowledge and allies. They might shatter 2 centuries of isolation. They slipped through the back alleys where vines and moss had begun to reclaim concrete. Nature's slow rebellion reminded Aaron of her mother's stories, forests that once stretched for thousands of kilometers now reduced to pockets of green. Here in the shadows, life still fought to endure. A single fern curled its fronds around a cracked wall, defiantly vibrant in the red scanner light. It gave her a surge of determination. Hours later, they reached the hidden entrance to Forge Station, a rusted hatch set into a hillside of tangled brush. Aaron and Curran pried it open and descended into the darkness. The passage ended at a heavy metal door etched with the emblem of a broken wing, a symbol of humanity's secret resistance. With Curran's code, the lock clicked and swung open. Inside, the station's cavernous bay was lit by dim emergency lamps. At its center rested the Valiant, a sleek warship built from scavenged hull plating and alien alloys. Her black chassis was scalloped with manual repairs, and her engines were wrapped in coils that glowed faintly blue. Chief Engineer Tessa Marlowe stood on a raised platform, her hands busy running diagnostics. "Lieutenant," Tessa greeted without looking up, her voice held a quiet pride. "We've finished the last calibration. Valiant is ready." Aaron stepped forward, the soft echo of her boots on metal amplifying the moment's gravity. "Then we follow this signal. No more waiting." Tessa's eyes met hers, dark with concern. "This ship has never seen combat. We've simulated every scenario, but nothing beats the real thing." Aaron placed a hand on the hull's cool surface. "I know, but hope never came from simulations. It came when people dared to try." She glanced at Curran, whose face was set in an expression of grim resolve. Together, they had survived the Empire's crackdowns, the forced relocations, the endless propaganda. They had seen children taken for speaking old Earth tales. And now, at last, they held a chance to reach beyond their prison. Above them, the station's speakers crackled. "Attention, unauthorized personnel detected. Self-destruct sequence initiated." Aaron's stomach froze. "They've found us." Tessa slapped a glowing switch. "We're locked down. It'll take them minutes to break through." She tapped her wrist console. "Launch sequence online." Alarms blared as metal shutters began to close over port entrances. Curran gave Aaron a steady nod. "We move now, or we die down here." Aaron sprinted up the gangway beside Tessa and Curran. The hangar doors slid open just as Imperial drones burst through the next corridor, their searchlights slicing the gloom. The Valiant's engines roared to life, a deep pulse that reverberated through every bolt and plate. Sparks flew as the engines ignited, pushing the ship forward. Tessa strapped herself into the engineering console. Curran hauled the boarding ramp free and sealed the exit. Aaron sprinted down the ramp, her heart hammering. She hit the comm switch. "Helm ready for departs." Ready, Lieutenant, came the calm reply of Navigator Junsari. Ignition on your mark. Aaron drew a breath. Outside, the first volley of energy bolts lanced toward the Valiant. They struck harmlessly against her reinforced shields. Inside, Tessa let out a breath she'd held for hours. Curran grinned. Mark, Aaron said. The Valiant surged upward, her stealth field crackling as it phased through the station's outer defenses. Alarms in the forge station cut out in sudden silence as the ship slipped free. Aaron watched the hatch close behind them, sealing the station in darkness and possible destruction. For a moment, all was still. Then the massive bay doors opened onto the starry void. The Valiant's thrusters pivoted and she shot forward, leaving the forge station and the Imperial drones far behind. Aaron pressed her hand to the viewport. The stars beyond glimmered cold and indifferent, but at the edge of the system, a single point of light pulsed in answer. She swallowed hard. Course set for Pluto outbound, Jun reported. Aaron's voice was firm. Let's find out who's calling us home. The Valiant slipped through the void like a shadow, its black hull absorbing the faint starlight. Inside, the hum of recycled air and distant engine pulses surrounded Aaron Salvon as she moved toward the central chamber. Behind her, Curran checked the status lights on the control panel, his expression a study in focused calm. We've got less than an hour before the Empire scrambles reinforcements, Curran said. We need to get to Forge Station Alpha. Aaron nodded. She could almost taste the metal tang of danger on her tongue. The signal they followed had led them to this point, an old moon of Saturn where, according to covert records, a hidden shipyard lay buried beneath kilometers of ice. There, Tessa Marlowe and her team had secreted away the prototype warship and the schematics for Valiant's unique engines. Until now, no one had dared touch it. As the ship cleared Neptune's orbit, Navigator Junsari tapped coordinates into the holomap. Ready to drop out of stealth, he reported. The Valiant's stealth coils dimmed their glow, and the ship's silhouette emerged against the backdrop of icy rings. Half buried in the ice, a series of dark pockmarks marked where the orbital shields had once kept the forge hidden from prying eyes. Aaron slipped on her jacket, the insignia of the Resistance crest stitched above her heart. She moved to the viewing port and watched the station loom larger. Its exterior was a patchwork of salvaged panels, reinforced by curved girders that had been driven into the ice by the original builders. Now, insulated domes jutted from the surface, giving the moon a distorted, asymmetrical profile. Bringing us in at low orbit, Jun said. Landing platform 2 is clear. Aaron turned to Tessa, who was already strapping herself into the engineering post. Tessa's dark hair was bound in a tight braid, and her eyes shone with anticipation. You made this place a marvel of human ingenuity, Aaron said softly. I still can't believe you built Valiant out of wrecks and scraps. Tessa allowed herself a small smile. When the Thoraxians arrived, they dismantled our shipyards and melted down every freighter hull. We had nothing left but memory, so we scavenged. We learned alien assembly techniques from captured drones. We scavenged Thoraxian toolkits. We built this forge in secret. A distant clang echoed through the bay as the docking clamps released the Valiant from the freight cradle. The hangar doors yawned open, and the cold vacuum of space brushed against the ship's reinforced shields. We'll dock beside the main shaft, Jun said. Curran, you're with me, secure the cargo lifts. Aaron, Tessa, head for the engine hub. We need to confirm those meltdown scattering drives at full capacity. Aaron and Tessa descended the gangway into the forge's heart. The corridors were lined with tangled conduit and blue-lit access panels. Irregular fluorescent streaks flickered overhead, and the air smelled of sharpened metal and heated coolant. Buried deep beneath the ice, the temperature hovered just above freezing, forcing the crew to keep jackets on even as they worked. They reached the engine hub, a vaulted room dominated by two massive generators. Coils of exotic alloy glowed faintly, feeding into a central reactor. Log panels scrolled data across hollow screens suspended in midair. Tessa's fingers flew across the interface. Reactor is stable, she said, but we need to recalibrate the phase modulator. Last test burn left a 10% variance. Aaron looked at the readouts. We can't afford inefficiency out there. The Thoraxians have never seen a ship use quantum fold and stealth in the same frame. We need that edge. Tessa nodded. She grabbed a toolkit from a rail and began adjusting the resonators. Sparks flew as she welded a realignment bracket. Almost there, recalibrating. She tapped a final command and stepped back. The reactor's glow steadied into a smooth, rhythmic pulse. Aaron checked her comm. Jun's voice came in low. Aris, patrol bubbles sweeping the perimeter. They'll be here in 6 minutes. Aaron gripped the railing. We've got to move faster. Tessa ducked under a conduit and sealed a panel. Done. Phase modulator is within 2% of spec. She wiped sweat from her brow. But you'll need the extra power from the cargo hold's capacitors to compensate for the remaining difference. Aaron's brow furrowed. Then let's go. They raced back to the main shaft, joining Curran and Jun at the cargo lifts. The platform held crates of spare parts, fusion cores, and cases of food concentrates. Curran loaded the supplies into magnetic racks. Behind him, Jun worked the blower valves, readying the lifts for departure. Aaron took a breath. Beyond the ice walls, the void beckoned with promise and peril. She glanced at Curran. Once we launch, we head straight to the signal source. We don't stop for patrols. We don't stop for anything. Curran tapped his helmet. Understood, Lieutenant, but right now patrols are 2 minutes out. If we don't close the bay doors, we'll be sitting ducks. Do it, Aaron ordered. Jun engaged the controls. Massive doors groaned as they slid into place, cutting off the corridor behind them. The cargo lift hummed, lowering the crates into Valiant's hold. Above, the bay lights dimmed, replaced by the ship's internal glow. Aaron climbed aboard last, followed closely by Tessa, Curran, and Jun. The hatch sealed with a pneumatic sigh. The hold's walls contracted around them as the ship's internal systems activated the cargo locks. The engines thrummed to attention. Launch sequence initiated, Jun said, firing the scattering drives in 3, 2, 1. The Valiant's hull rippled as the quantum fold engines engaged. For an instant, space seemed to stretch around the ship. Then, with a collective shudder, they were gone. Outside the forge station, the patrol drones reached the empty bay. Droids of matte black steel scanned the walls, finding only the scuffs from the escape. Their comms crackled, target absent, opening spread pattern. Back aboard Valiant, Aaron stood beside the viewport. Distant stars flickered into view as the ship punched through space. She looked at Tessa, whose face glowed in the instrument light. Good work, Aaron said. Valiant is ready to fight. Tessa smiled, exhaustion and pride mingling in her eyes. Let's hope it's enough. Aaron pressed her hand to the cool glass. The signal's rhythmic pulse lay ahead, a distant heartbeat in the silent sea. Beyond it, allies or enemies waited. But for the first time in 2 centuries, humanity had a chance to step beyond its cage and reclaim its destiny among the stars. The Valiant surged through the darkness, its quantum fold drive still warm from the leap. Ahead, a flickering pulse marked the signal's source, guiding them deeper into the solar system's outer frontier. Navigator Jun Sari kept one eye glued to the holo display while his other hand hovered over the controls, ready to react at a moment's notice. Communications Officer Ryan Cald sat beside him, headphones snug over his ears. Ryan's fingers flew across his keyboard as he worked to stabilize the signal feed. The rhythmic pulse had shifted in frequency since they emerged from the forge's quantum jump, hinting that whatever ship sent it was on the move and badly damaged. I'm picking up engine signatures, Ryan reported, voice tight with anticipation. That ship, limping toward the Pluto belt, shields are at 20% and falling. Aaron Salvon, standing at the ship's bulkhead viewport, tightened her grip on the rail. Beyond the glass, Neptune's dim rings spun silently, lit only by distant sunlight. The vast expanse of cold gas giants and icy debris reminded her of Earth's own ancient deserts, harsh, empty, and unforgiving. And yet hope glimmered like a single green sprout in a barren field. Helm, bring us to intercept Vector Delta 9, Aaron ordered. I want us to arrive before those cruisers catch up. Jun tapped coordinates into the console, and the Valiant's engines flared, pivoting the ship on its axis. The hum of power thrummed through the deck plates as they accelerated. Curran disjoined Aaron at the viewport, scanning the distance for any sign of pursuit. I see them, Curran said, voice low. 3 Raven-class cruisers. They're moving fast, faster than any patrol boat I've ever seen. Aaron followed his gaze. 3 small dots glowed against the black, engines blazing. Each cruiser was roughly twice the Valiant's size and built for pure firepower, not speed. If they caught the Valiant in open space, their modified Thoraxian cannons could tear through her shields in seconds. They've locked on, Ryan said over the comm. We've got weapons signatures converging. Aaron turned back to the viewport. Distant tracer beams streaked across the void, converging on the point where the battered ship hovered. She drew in a steadying breath. Evasive Flight Plan Alpha, she called. Jun, guide us through the asteroids. Curran, prepare the aft batteries. Tessa, keep those engines hot. Tessa Marlowe's voice came crackling through the comms. Understood, phase coils are at full output. She tapped her console. Stealth mode ready, but it'll drain the capacitors fast. Erin nodded, though no one could see her. To buy time, they needed both stealth and speed, but they only had enough power to hold the cloak for a minute. After that, they would stand out like a beacon against the stars. Jun steered the Valiant toward the scattered asteroid field that marked the edge of the Plutonian belt. Colossal rocks drifted in silent procession, their surfaces scarred by countless impacts. The Valiant slipped between them, weaving in and out of tight gaps. Behind, the cruisers hesitated. Any collision would risk serious damage to their bulkier frames. "We're in," Jun announced. "Asteroid field is dense, they can't pursue at top speed." For a few heartbeats, the Valiant was safe. But the cruisers deployed small drone scouts that darted ahead, pinging the asteroids with energy beams. Chunks of rock crumbled away as the drones carved new paths, clearing corridors for the larger ships. "They're sealing off our escape routes," Curran said, eyes on the tactical display. "Drones are converging." Aaron's mind raced. They had to reach the crippled ship before the Empire's forces destroyed it and lost any chance of gaining an ally. Jun switched to silent running. "Ryan, keep that pulse alive. If they lose the signal, they'll stop chasing us." Jun engaged the silent systems. The Valiant's engines dropped to a low thrum, her heat signature plummeted. Overhead, the asteroid field loomed like a cathedral of stone. Sunlight fell in dusty beams through the gaps. Cold radiated from the rocks, but the ship's shields held steady. Ryan positioned the signal amplifiers in the communications bay and rerouted excess power to them. The signal returned stronger now, its pulse a lighthouse in the gloom. A ghostly silhouette appeared on the holoscreen, a small scout vessel, battered and scarred, its hull bare of paint, exposing raw metal beneath. "There," Ryan said, "that's our friend, shields unstable, life signs unknown." Zarin took a breath, prepared docking protocols were going in hard. Jun steered the Valiant alongside the scout. The asteroid field's gravity was weak, but the ships had to match speeds precisely. Tessa flared the aft thrusters, sliding them gently into position. The docking clamps extended, anchoring the Valiant to the scout's side. Inside the docking bay, a hiss of decompression greeted Aaron and Curran as they suited up. Cold air filled their helmets. Aaron checked her sidearm and pulse rifle. The exterior hatch opened, revealing the battered scout. Its metal plating was torn in places, and smoke drifted from venting conduits. "I don't like this," Curran muttered. "They could be ambush baits." "We have to take the risk," Aaron replied. "This is humanity reaching out. If we shrink from that, we might as well go home." They crossed the short corridor, weapon lights piercing the darkness. Inside the scout's bridge, the wrecked consoles flickered. A lone figure slumped at the helm, Drayan Kess, the scout's commander. His uniform was gray and frayed, and his face was drawn with exhaustion. Beside him lay two crew members, unconscious but alive. Aaron knelt beside Drayan. "Commander Kess, I'm Lieutenant Aaron Salvon of the Valiant. We answered your signal." Drayan's eyes fluttered open. He blinked at her, then recognition flared. You came." His voice was hoarse. He tried to sit up, but pain stopped him. Curran and Aaron exchanged glances. This man had fought hard to stay alive. "We need information," Aaron said. "Who are you? Where did you come from?" Drayan whispered, "We are the Covenant, survivors of Earth's first diaspora. We fled centuries ago, hoping to build a free world. The Thoraxians hunted us down. This," he gestured at the scout's bridge, "is the last of our fleet." Curran's eyes widened. "You mean humans left Earth long before the Empire's invasion?" Drayan nodded, pain contorting his features. "Our colony ships left in secret. We charted the stars. We prospered until the Thoraxians found us. We fought back, but they adapted. Our numbers dwindled." Aaron felt a surge of emotion, pride, heartbreak, awe. Humanity had never been alone. War had ravaged more worlds than Earth knew, and yet these survivors had clung to hope. Behind them, the Valiant's engines idled, cloaked against detection. Aaron knew that every second counted. "Commander," she said, voice firm, "we'll get you aboard our ship and repair your engines. Then we stand together, Valiant and Covenant, against the Empire." Drayan's gaze was steady. "Thank you, but beware, there is more at stake than you know. The Empire's darkness runs deeper than quarantine. They hide a terrible secret." Aaron nodded. "Then we fight to bring that secret into the light." Outside, the three cruisers edged into the asteroid field, their sensors searching. But for now, the Valiant held her ground. Inside the battered scout, a new alliance was forged, one that would change humanity's destiny among the stars. The docking clamps released with a soft hiss, and the Valiant drifted free from the battered scout. Inside the command chamber, Aaron Salvon studied the holo display. The Covenant scouts around them flickered in and out of signal range as Drayan Kess's vessel struggled to maintain power. Behind her, the rest of the crew prepared for the next move. "We'll need full repairs before we can escape," Tessa Marlowe said, her hands flying over the console. "The scout's hull plating is breached in multiple sections. I can patch it, but we need time and materials." Aaron nodded, glancing at Curran Diz. "Curran, set a perimeter. Jun, reroute any excess power to the repair bays. Ryan, amplify the scout's comm beacon. We need more of the Covenant to find us." Ryan called, tapped his station. "Beacon live. We'll reach any nearby Covenant ships if they're out there, but we might also draw Thoraxian fire." The room fell silent. Aaron let the weight of their situation settle. They were already in enemy territory. The Empire's cruisers would not give up easily. The Covenant scouts were scattered, isolated. If they joined forces now, they would be stronger. But trust had to be earned. Outside, space pulsed with projectiles and tractor beams as the three Raven-class cruisers drew closer. Their engines glowed bright against the shadowed asteroids. The Valiant's stealth field flickered under the strain of holding both cloak and engines at full output. "We're running low on cloak power," Jun warned. "We'll lose invisibility in 4 minutes." Aaron took a deep breath. "Then we make them hesitate. Tessa, prepare the disruptor charges. I want to jam their sensors long enough for us to finish repairs." Tessa tapped a few commands. "Disruptors online, but they only fire once." "Then we choose our moment," Aaron said. She turned to Drayan, who sat in a reinforced chair, his face pale but determined. "Commander Kess, are you able to travel to the repair bay? We'll have to work side by side." Drayan's eyes met hers. "I can manage." He climbed from his chair, leaning on Curran's steady arm. Together they walked down the corridor that led to the repair decks. The corridors were narrow, lined with tool racks and spare plating. The hum of machinery mingled with distant alarms. In the repair bay, engineers worked under Tessa's direction. Makeshift workstations held hull patches, wiring harnesses, and fusion cells. Sparks flew as welders sealed breaches. Tessa waved her crew over. "We need those structural girders from cargo hold 2, she called. "And run extra coolant lines to the reactor coil." Aaron and Drayan joined them. Aaron placed a hand on Drayan's shoulder. "We'll get you back in the sky," she promised. Drayan nodded, scanning the damage. "Thank you. My people have lived in hiding for so long that action feels like a dream." Curran checked the scopes. Enemy cruisers are repositioning, closing to weapons range in 3 minutes. Aaron looked up at Tessa. "We don't have much time. How long for basic repairs?" Tessa wiped sweat from her brow. 10 minutes minimum. But if we reroute power from the aft batteries, maybe 6. Aaron tapped her comm. "Jun, can you spare that power?" From the helm, Jun's voice answered, "We'll bleed off auxiliary thruster reserves, but we'll lose maneuverability." Aaron weighed the options. They could jam sensors and slip away, but without full engines they'd be easy prey. Or they could stand and fight, risking destruction but buying Drayan's scouts time to gather. "Do it," she said. "Jun, blade power. Tessa, go." The hapless crew sprang into action. Jun throttled down auxiliary thrusters, diverting power to the repair decks. Lights flickered briefly as systems readjusted. Tessa's engineers worked with renewed speed, bolting girders and sealing the hull. Above, the cruisers loomed, massive gray behemoths bristling with weapons. "Disruptors are armed," Tessa announced. Aaron took position at a nearby hatch. "Get ready to fire on my mark." Outside, the cruisers unleashed a barrage of sensor pulses. The Valiant's cloaking field strained, then held. For a moment, they saw only the flicker of energy waves. Then, on Aaron's command, Tessa triggered the disruptors. A silent pulse rippled through space, shredding the cruiser's sensor grids like a ripple on water. Their targeting systems blinked out, and beams of energy dissolved into space. The ships lurched as automated corrections kicked in, guns misaligned, scanners rehashed. Aaron seized the moment. "Now deck crews move," she shouted. Through data feeds, she guided them. In the repair bay, Drayan and the engineers finished the last hull patches. Power lines glowed as the patched reactor coil roared to life. Welders shut down and coolant systems stabilized. "We're green across the board," Tessa called. "Shields at 78%, engines ready." Aaron closed her eyes briefly, ready to depart. Jun's voice came steady, "Ready." Aaron triggered the klaxon. "All hands brace for departure. Engage engines on my mark." Outside, the disruptor pulse faded. Sensors flickered back to life on the cruisers, but they were temporarily blinded. 6 more seconds before their systems reset. Mark, Aaron said. The Valiant's engines flared, casting a blue glow against the asteroid field. Shields shimmered as they phased through the rocky maze. The cruisers roared after them, but their weapons locked on too late. Inside, Curran monitored the escape vector. We've got a 2.5-second window to slip past their targeting cones. Aaron steadied herself. Go. The Valiant twisted, her hull ripple shifting through the asteroid canyons. Tracer fire lanced past, striking asteroids instead of the ship. Alarms blared as rocks broke apart, but the Valiant's shields held. Drayan watched from the engineering deck, awe in his eyes. They're good, he murmured to Aaron, better than anything I imagined. Aaron nodded, her focus unbroken. Beyond the belt, the signal's pulse glimmered like a promise. She allowed herself a moment's relief as the cruisers fell behind. We're clear of the belt, Jun reported. Plotting course to the signal, expected arrival in 10 minutes. Aaron surveyed her crew, Curran at the comms, Jun at the helm, Tessa overseeing the repairs, Ryan reinforcing the beacon. And Drayan, limping but alive, a living testament to humanity's hidden strength. Still, unease lingered. The Covenant had not yet revealed their full intentions. Some of Drayan's officers might resent fighting alongside resistance fighters who had remained on Earth. There might be spies or worse. Unity was fragile, forged in desperation. Aaron squared her shoulders. All right, she said, let's meet our allies and make sure we're ready for whatever comes next. As the Valiant sped toward the heart of the Pluto belt, the flickering pulse grew stronger. Ahead lay answers, dangers, and perhaps the dawning of a new chapter for humankind. But for now, the fractured alliance held, just barely bound by a shared hope that together they could defy the Empire's stars. The Valiant slipped through the final fringe of the Plutonian belt, its engines coasting on afterburners as the battered Scout drifted behind, newly patched and humming with borrowed power. Interior lights flickered as the crew shook off residual tension. Aaron Salvon moved to the viewport, eyes fixed on the asteroid-strewn horizon ahead. Beyond lay Omega Station, an abandoned mining hub once used to harvest rare isotopes, now a silent relic of a bygone era. It was the Covenant's chosen rendezvous point, the only location where they could repair their fleet in secret. Tessa Marlowe's voice crackled over the comm link from engineering. Reactor output is stable, Scout is secure, but we're operating well below optimum capacity. She paused. We'll need the station's infrastructure to fully restore her systems. Drayan Kess, seated in the command chair beside Aaron, exhorted a weak smile. Then let us hope the station still functions beneath its rust and ice. He tapped a console, bringing up long-dormant schematics. Omega Station was designed to maintain minimal life support indefinitely. Power reserves should be in the auxiliary generators here. Curran leaned over his shoulder. If the generators still hold charge, we can divert power through the docking conduit. Otherwise, we'll be stranded in the belt. Below them, Omega Station emerged from the gloom. A cluster of domed habitats and skeletal trusses sprouting from a crater's edge, all tinted in faded orange from ancient floodlights. Its docking bays stood yawning open, their seals long since compromised. Long corridors led inward, and vents jutted from the hull, many clogged with space dust and frost. Junsari guided the Valiant into a slow approach, matching the station's rotation. The docking clamps extended and locked with a resonant clang. Alarms sighed through the silence as the seals engaged. The ship's engines cut and the bay became still. Aaron exhaled, feeling the hush settle around her. We'll board in 5, she announced. Curran, lead the security team. Ryan, keep the beacon on low power. We don't want Empire drones sniffing us out. The crew gathered at the airlock. Drayan lingered for a moment, gazing at the battered Scout. Thank you all, he murmured, for risking so much. Aaron placed a reassuring hand on his arm. No one's asking you to thank us, we're all in this together. They crossed the threshold into the station's docking bay. The air inside was recycled, cold and stale, with the faint hum of dormant machinery. Lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows across cracked tile and tangled conduit. The smell of rust and coolant hung thick. Curran signaled and his squad spread out, weapons at the ready but trained downward in a non-threatening stance. Security sweep underway, Curran reported. Aaron and Drayan followed the path of flickering arrows painted on the walls, leading toward the reactor banks. The corridor walls bore signs of hurried evacuation, overturned carts, discarded tools, blood-stained rags. Aaron's heart clenched at the silent evidence of past tragedies. They reached a central hub where 4 tunnels converged. A holomap flickered to life, its display half erased by time. Drayan tapped it gently, restoring the layout. Reactor room is 2 corridors to the north, then down a service shaft. They set off. The station's corridors had narrow windows overlooking the belt, and Aaron paused to watch icy fragments drift past. She thought of Earth, spinning beneath a red scanner beam, and felt both longing and determination. Here, far from home, they would forge a new cause. As they progressed, Ryan called checked signal strength on his handheld. Covenant scout fleet is triangulating our beacon. They should arrive in 20 minutes. Aaron allowed herself a brief smile. Good, we'll need reinforcements if the Empire shows up. Tessa and Curran arrived, dragging portable power cells and a toolbox. We're ready, Tessa said. Let's get this reactor humming. In the reactor room, massive coils of superconducting alloy spiraled around a dormant core. Red warning lights blinked, signaling low coolant and battery reserves. Tessa knelt by a panel, her fingers dancing over terminals. If I can reroute the auxiliary batteries into the primary coils, we can bring the reactor back online. Drayan steadied her as she worked. We lost 60% of the coolant lines in the last storm, he said. I'll help repair them once you've got juice. Curran and his team set up perimeter sensors at the service tunnel entrances. Jun and Ryan monitored external feeds for enemy ships. Aaron stood guard near the hatch, pulse rifle at her side. The minutes stretched, each one a lifetime. Finally, Tessa straightened, initiating startup. She slid a switch. The room hummed as the reactor coils glowed from pale blue to bright azure. Fans whirred to life, pushing coolant through the veins of the station. Lights brightened and the holomap flickered anew on the nearby console. Status, Aaron asked. Reactor at 70%, Tessa reported. Auxiliary to main power transfer complete, station stable. Cheers echoed softly from Curran's team. Outside, the Covenant scouts, tiny silhouettes against the starfield, drew closer. 2 vessels and a handful of fighters glowed like fireflies. Drayan allowed himself relief to show, we did it. Aaron clasped Tessa's shoulder, you did it, then she turned toward the holomap. Now where to next? Drayan tapped coordinates. There's a hidden drydock deeper in the belt, abandoned but salvageable. We can refit your Valiant and repair the rest of our fleet. Aaron nodded. She caught Curran's eye. Alert the crew, prep the engineering bay. In the command chamber, Jun plotted the course while Ryan opened a low-power channel. Covenant fleet, this is Valiant, docking bay secure. Station power restored, prepare for landing. Tiny dots on the holoscreen converged on Omega Station. Thunderous silence gave way to the hum of new arrivals as fighters slipped into the hangar and freighters slid into bays. The combined crews exchanged wary nods through the viewing ports. Humans from Earth and those born among the stars met face to face, a moment both fragile and momentous. Aaron stood beside Drayan, watching as alliance took shape. Outside, the abandoned station sprang back to life under their collective will. Lights illuminated dust-laden corridors, workshops ignited, the reactor's steady pulse thrummed through every deck. But the Valiant's warning systems remained vigilant. Curran's squadmen reported a blip on long-range sensors, Imperial reinforcements approaching. Aaron's jaw set, she looked to Drayan. They'll be here soon, we prepare to defend Omega. Drayan's gaze was resolute, we stand together. Aaron raised her fist, for humanity everywhere. As one, the assembled crews echoed her vow. Beyond the station's battered walls, the Empire's cruisers glinted on the horizon. Inside, hearts united by shared purpose, they braced for the coming storm and for the chance to ignite the rebellion that would carry humanity back into the stars.